I mean, I've had so many cases where I've really tried to affect systematic system change. A lot of cases I've had systems in hospitals have been reorganized and redone, and that's what matters. Not so much the accolades and the awards and the attaboys and all that stuff. When I was young, I was very interested in that stuff. Now, that doesn't matter to me. I'm an old man. So my advice would be do the best job you can, and the accolades will come.
Howdy, and welcome to the show. Cooper's Code focuses on legal issues and notable practitioners, distilling wisdom so we all achieve the best results for our clients. I'm Miles Cooper, and I'm very excited for this conversation with the iconic Jeff Mitchell of Mitchell Leeds LLP. I remember you trying a case up in Shasta not once, but twice.
Right.
And I think that getting a great verdict the first time and getting an even better verdict the second time, if memory serves. And as well as a huge case in Fresno. I bring these forward because not only are you suing doctors and nurses and hospitals who are sometimes the largest employer where you're at, you're also doing it in what people think of as traditionally red state or bad locations for plaintiffs.
Sure.
So we alluded to the trial that you had in Shasta, trials that you had in Shasta, and not a lot of people have had the opportunity to try a case twice. I'd love to get some learning from you in terms of how you approached that case and were able to win the same case twice. I think a lot of people worry that when they're trying the case a second time that it loses some of the energy or the defense has seen all their tricks.
It was interesting. It was a unique situation. It was a stroke case. Younger gentleman was pretty seriously brain injured. And it was a great liability case. But the problem was, the defense was, well, you're in Shasta County. No one wins here. And there were two defendants, and their entire defense was to blame one another. And the defense essentially was, it wasn't me, it was them. But even if it was me, it was still within the standard of care. And so that didn't fly trial one. And there was an issue. The jury hung on causation on one of the two defendants. And there was a big dispute between the two insurance companies, and I won't belabor your audience with all the gory details, but I had to go back and retry it again against defendant two, because that the jury hung on causation because defendant one was going to, not pay in excess of the policy, and there was a big dispute about that. So anyways, I had to try, and I tried it the same way.
I'm hazy on the details, but I seem to remember you actually roomed with one of the defense lawyers.
Yeah, that's right. So trial one, there were two defense lawyers, multiple defense lawyers, but two firms. And we all stayed in the same hotel. We had a great time. We all know each other. And then trial two, the defense lawyer and I rented a B&B in downtown Reading. We're very good friends to this day. And we had the best time trying that case against one another, living in the same house. The innkeeper would come in and cook for us and say hi, and we would sit there and work at night, and he'd prep a witness upstairs and vice versa. And it was great because we had so much fun and we respected each other so much. It made it truly enjoyable. I still look back on it with utter joy, having to sit up there in the winter twice, both times. It was wonderful, but I tried it the same way. We same judge, different jury. It was great, but I if it worked time one, it was going to probably work time two, and it did. So it worked out fine.
As we talk a little bit about relationships with opposing counsel, from an outsider's perspective, it looks like the med-mal bar acts and engages in the way lawyers did 30, 40 years ago. Bare-knuckled at points, but also so small that it's the same people time after time and therefore a more collegial bar. Is that
very
correct?
Much the case? It's interesting. I was reared around kind of the old lions of the defense bar. They're all retired, or gone. And we used to settle cases at Taddage over lunch. It's changed quite a bit, as every line of PI practice has, but it's a very small bar. the good defense lawyers I've been friends with for 25, 30 years. I don't have a single, I believe, enemy. You'd have to ask them, but I don't have a single enemy. I believe in the business. I truly like all the lawyers I have cases against. Some I like more than others, but I do get along with all of them. And I think the mal bar, being as small as it is, it's still got that kind of old-timey feel where I can call them up and say, hey, what do you need from me? I haven't been in a discovery dispute in 25 years. It just doesn't happen. I never get in arguments. I never get hot at anybody. And I just think because if you're a good defense lawyer, you're going to be seeing me and Nathaniel a lot. And with cases that have a lot of meat on the bone. So you don't want to make us mad. And the same goes true for the defense lawyers, right? And the same goes true for the institutional defendants we see a lot. We all know who they are. I get along with all those people. And I'm honest and have frank discussions with them, and I don't BS them, and I'm transparent. And that helps build trust. And that's a very important part of what we do. And I think the size of the med mal bar lends itself to that. And if you're not always up front and transparent, they're not going to want to pay you. People, there's been studies about this. People, the great salesmen of the world, are very likable people. People tend to want to compensate your clients if they like you and trust you and know that you're being straight with them. So it's really, really important. And I think in PI and every area of the law, but med mal is a little different because due to its size, the people that really do it exclusively.
On the size front, I see two things that have happened in the legal field that lead me to a question about whether others are attempting to come in. One is the change in MICRA, where they, after way too long, made some modifications to make it not as awful in terms of the impact on plaintiffs and plaintiffs' lawyers. And the other is the advent of advertising attorneys from Southern California moving north. Mm-hmm. Have you seen any impact in your practice from those changes?
Very interesting question. It might be a complex answer. After the change in the law, I expected there to be a flood of non-malpractice specialists coming in. I don't think that's happened, and that could be anecdotal. I probably don't have any data to back that up, but I don't think that's happened. I think a lot of PI lawyers are afraid of med mal. I think because it's very expensive. The odds are stacked against us. If you read the jury instructions in Casey writ large, you kind of look, if I were to look at them as someone that doesn't do med mal, I go, well, God, holy crap, how do you win a case? Given some of the jury instructions and the data in terms of win-loss percentages. So I haven't seen a real onslaught of new people, and all the mass advertisers, mass marketing firms, they don't want to do it. So they call me. And if I had a dime for every time one of those firms called me, wanted me to take all the med mal stuff off their hands, it's a lot. I could buy a pretty nice lunch off those dimes. The problem, you sit there as a business person and you go, wow, I can increase my intake by 20 full. Well, how are you going to staff that? How are you going to vet it? They're going to vet it for you. Okay. If they say they're going to vet it for you, do they know how to vet it? So that's an interesting, and then you think you kind of follow it out to its linear end. There's a lot of people calling those firms for malpractice cases. What they're doing with them, I don't know. We have a few marketing kind of firms we deal with that are smaller and they'll vet a little bit for us. We have long relationships with, but that's a very interesting question. I don't know what the data is. The average PI consumer, if they're a malpractice lawyer and they see billboards and they're going, well, gosh, this person's always saying injured, 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 I'm going to call them because I guarantee those calls are happening. But yeah, it's a kind of an interesting tightrope we're walking because I could have 50 lawyers and 60 paralegals. If I wanted to staff and finance all that stuff, I could do it. But I just don't have the bandwidth and don't want to because these cases it kind of leads into the most important thing in malpractice is you've got to really vet your cases. And, we're turning down 99% of the calls we get, and we're getting a lot. It's all about scale. So that's one thing as a firm we're really in the middle now is like we've gotten a lot bigger very quickly because we've been very successful. But we're trying to figure out kind of how big do we want to get. It's an interesting question about the mass marketing stuff, where that kind of goes down the road.
In that vein, so I was at a firm where we would do some medical malpractice. I've done a little bit of med mal myself. What I learned a long time ago is that dabbling in med mal is dangerous. You're either all in or you should refer out.
100% agree.
And that then gets to the vetting process that you have to go through. How do you vet? Because I know some of these cases, you can't even figure out if there's a case until you get records in. Sometimes you might need an expert to take a look at it. How do you vet those 99.9% to get the 1%, 0.1% that you take?
Sure. So, and I think this is applicable to any firm nationwide that really specializes in med mal. You have to have a very robust intake operation with people that really, really know what they're doing. So we've got 3 or 4 people that's all they do all day long. 2 of them one's an RN, one's a PA, have medical training. One of the person that leads our team, he's worked for me for almost 30 years just doing med mal. So they are very good at looking at metrics of a case, the profile of a case in terms of economic metrics. And we're at the point now we're looking, the only stuff we look at is really large stuff. If cases aren't meeting the metric, the cases are referred out or declined, but you have to do it in a way that's polite and artful and building relationships, because those people could come back later with other cases or their loved ones. So you want to leave a good impression. So, but my advice would be, build out a very robust intake operation of people that really know what they're doing. I frankly do very little intake myself. Most of my cases, they show up on my docket. I know they've been well vetted. And once in a while, do we miss? Yeah, not that often. But yeah, we all have kind of different roles. If there's a case that comes in that the intake staff's kind of on the edge, they'll go to my partner first. There's kind of a thing going on. They know if they go to me, I'm going to probably say no. But it's good. Sometimes, my partner and I will disagree. He might like a case and I don't, and we kind of talk, and he might go, yeah, you're right. Or I might say, you're right. So there's a lot. It's kind of a cone. It's got to work its way up. PI, it's a little different. I would assume I don't have much experience in PI cases, but that is where firms fail or succeed, is on that dimension of a law firm doing med mal. You can't dabble. It's like, it's one of those kinds of, it's like anything else. The more reps you have, the better you're going to be, right? If I had a major bicycle case with severe injuries, could I do it? Probably. Would I get as good a result as you would? No. So I would send those cases to you because you're better at it. And the lesson there is, you get a case and you're not good at it or don't do those cases, associate somebody in or send them out. Yeah. It's better for the client. And in med mal, I think of any area of PI that's the most true of, because it's like, look at a football analogy, right? Yeah, you've got a wide receiver, but then if you ask him to play tight end, could they play tight end? Probably. Would they be very good? Probably not. So I think the same applies to what we're doing. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things where you have to have reps. You have to do it day in, day out, year after year after year. And a lot of that's relationship building. The defense bar is not going to take you seriously unless you're somebody that they know has been doing it a lot. And yeah, you could prove them otherwise. A PI lawyer could do a great job in a med mal case. I think that's an outlier, but I'm sure that occurs because there's a lot of good PI lawyers that I know personally that could do anything. I know a lot of them. You know a lot of them. But that's the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, but build that intake operation. That's very, very important.
Do you have any particularly favorite trial moments that stand out for you? Anything in your history where you're like, yeah, I could stop my career now after having had that happen?
Yeah. I actually have one. It's in that litigation we had in Fresno.
And for our listeners, can you just give us an overview of what that case, the 30 to 90 second overview?
I'll do it as quickly as I can. There was a large private hospital down there that was running a very robust, lucrative cardiac surgery program led by a surgeon that was doing some things he shouldn't have been doing, et cetera. The hospital knew there was some things that were going on that shouldn't have been going on, but they kind of kept this group around because they were making them a lot of money.
And since you may be bound by things, but I am not, my memory of this case is that it was a surgeon who was, in essence, directing unnecessary heart procedures to feather their nest. And
Correct.
you don't, okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. That was one of the allegations. There were other things going on, but in any event, there was one case and then other cases came out of it and it was all kind of interconnected. I'm trying to be as brief as I can, but in any event, the person that made the case go was a whistleblower who was a cardiac perfusionist, and they're the people in any open heart surgery that they run the bypass machine. And they're not nurses, they're not doctors, they're highly trained special allied health specialists. They run they kind of monitor and administer some of the anticoagulants. They're running you're on bypass. The perfusionist is running the bypass.
Yeah.
Very important job. So the whistleblower in the underlying case who kind of got it out into the public sphere because it was being well shelved by the hospital system, they ended up, when it became known who it was, the hospital fired him and he was sued for defamation by the surgeon. And then he was the critical witness in the entire trial that was months long. And I put him on the stand, and the defense lawyers had vitriol for him. I admired him. I think he was deposed for a week. And I put him on the stand, and he basically came in and aired all the dirty laundry. And I remember putting him on. He was crossed vigorously for more than a day, I think. And I remember in redirect, I was sitting there and I'm trying to think, and I'm kind of a movie buff. And I thought, it reminded me of a movie involving a whistleblower. And if you remember the movie, it was a Michael Mann film called The Insider with Al Pacino, Russell Crowe. It was about the tobacco litigation.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, it was all about whether 60 Minutes was going to air this interview where he lit the tobacco industry on fire. He asked him, your life's been ruined by the tobacco companies. You've lost your family. You're out of a job. Your life's, they've been, they're trying to make your life a living hell. Given all that, would you do it again? And he says, yeah, I'd do it again. And it was so powerful to me from a cinematic standpoint. I sat there and I asked this witness, and I admire him immensely to this day. He ended up getting a large arbitration award against a hospital system after, which I got almost as much comfort from than the underlying verdict we got. And I stood up and I asked him, I said, you've been run out of Fresno, a place you love. You've been sued. You've been, ripped through the media by these people. Given the immense effect this has had on your life, would you do this again? He goes, yeah, I'd do it again. And I remember sitting down and I went to Ricardo and he goes, where the hell did you come up with that? And I said, from a movie. And when we talked to the jury after, all they talked about is they wanted to erect a statue of this guy in front of the courthouse.
Really?
Yes. And it made me so proud that we could empower this guy to do this and give him, make him feel comfortable. And it really, that moment in the courtroom, you could hear a pin drop. And it was almost shocking to me how powerful it was. I didn't know I was capable of doing anything like that. And it wasn't really me, it was him. I just gave him the tools to do it. My career ended today doing something like that. It's all worth it. It has nothing to do with the money. You're changing people's lives. I felt like we changed people's lives with that case. We saved lives with that case. And that makes me very, very, very proud.
In a parallel track, is there anything that you would want to share with a young you or younger lawyers now about how you might have done something different or what you're really glad that you did in terms of your practice?
What I would do different, that's a very good, I've never thought about that. There's probably, if I had a lot of time to reflect, there's probably a lot of things I'd do differently. I think if I had to do it all again, when I first became a plaintiff lawyer, I had some success. I think I let it get a little bit to my head when I was younger. I think I was very, looking back on it, driven by, people telling me how smart I was and how great I am. And, and I really sought that out. That's not what matters. What matters is whether you're doing a good job for your clients. And the older I get, the less I care about all the accolades and all the awards and all the different things that come along with the types of cases we handle and what you do. My advice to young lawyers is just try to learn and do as much good work for your clients as you can. And the accolades will come. The satisfaction from our job isn't from that. It's from the good you're doing for your clients and the community. I mean, I've had so many cases where, it almost brings me to tears thinking about some of them, where I've really tried to affect systematic system change. A lot of cases I've had systems in hospitals have been reorganized and redone, and that's what matters. And that, not so much the accolades and the awards and the attaboys and all that stuff. When I was young, I was very interested in that stuff. Now, that doesn't matter to me. I'm an old man. So my advice would be do the best job you can, and the accolades will come.
As we get into the final strokes, is there anything else that you think you'd like to bring forward for our listeners?
Yeah, I've talked about it a lot over the years, how important mentoring was to me and how vital it is as a community of lawyers. And this applies to both sides of the bar. Really seek out mentors, engage with mentors. You always have to be yourself, right? We're all different. I'm different than you. I'm much different than my partner. But seek out mentors and soak it in. I would have not done any of the things I've done in this career if I wouldn't have had great mentors that I've learned from in little ways. And I give all of them a lot of credit for everything I've ever done and, we've done as a firm and, really, really, really seek out mentoring. We spend a lot of time with our young lawyers sending them out to talk to other people. Some of them, because they can only learn so much from me and they can only learn so much from my partner. Be exposed to other lawyers that do different things and get tips from them, and just being around people you learn by osmosis. And I think that is incredibly important. I'm almost 55 years old. I'm still learning every day. I learn from you. You do different things than I do, but I learn a lot from you and other people I know. So that to me is the advice I give to a younger lawyer or any lawyer, is to learn. I'm always listening. I'm always reading. I'm always talking to people. It makes you a better lawyer. And so that's the best advice I could give.
Always be learning.
Always be learning.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jeff. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you, Miles. I appreciate it.
And thank you for listening today. Please email us at podcast@coopers.law with questions, comments, feedback, and suggestions for who you would have on the show. Like what you heard? Share us with a colleague and leave us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. To all of you doing justice out there, happy hunting.